Hi everyone, is this loud enough? Because I am way too short for this mic. Can I? Oh! Oh my. Bear with. Should I hold? What about that? Oh, okay. Well, if I move away from it, do let me know. So my name is Sam. Many of you just met me as the student athlete of an unknown sport. And just so you know, I got 3 bingos. Not that it's a competition. But today I'll be briefing you about how to make the most out of ICFP. So first things first, why should you listen to me? Well, I was you. Look at this cute little picture of baby Sam attending PLMW in 2018. See, he's so cute and innocent. Oh. And I like to think that it all worked out. So I was blown away by the whole experience of PLMW, and it made me think, yes, I really do want to do a PhD. Now, I'm almost finished my PhD, and I've also just started a part-time lecturer role while I definitely get my PhD finished. And that's all at my institution of the University of Bristol. Little fun fact about me, it's my 7th ICFP, so I hope by now I know what I'm doing. Before we proceed, a little disclaimer. And I've got to thank Paulette, who gave this talk last year for this disclaimer. I watched her talk to sense check mine, and this was a really good point that she made. This is just advice I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you 45 minutes of advice. Remember, advice doesn't work for everyone. I'm going to give you lots and lots of information. These slides are available on my website afterwards, so you don't have to worry about taking thorough notes. You can just be here. These are just loads of tips that served me well over the years, and I hope they help you. So there are 2 things I wanted to achieve in this talk. The first thing, I want you to feel comfortable and confident going into the next few days of ICFP. And the second thing I wanted to help you achieve is develop your conference plan. So like I said, I'm going to tell you loads of things that you can achieve at a conference and how to achieve them. I do not expect you to do all of them. There is way too much for one person to do. I expect you to pick a couple things to try and then try them out over the next few days. Now, before I'd start, I thought we'd play a little game. Because I could have told you what to expect and then my advice, but I think people learn much better from experience. So yeah, I thought we'd all play a game together. This game is called Conference Cadet. Well, that is way too small. I'm going to mirror my screen. 2 minutes. There we go. That's right. Oh, there we go. Welcome to ICFP24. You are an introverted final year undergraduate student hoping to pursue a PhD in programming languages. You're particularly interested in bidirectional programming and want to secure a studentship at the University of Bristol because it's the best. The main conference is 3 days long, with each schedule roughly following the same pattern: keynote, break, session, lunch, session, break, session. Some tips for what to attend. So the keynotes are always great, as is the student research competition, the business meeting, where you'll find out where ICFP25 is, and the reception are all highly recommended. Other than that, take a look at the schedule and bookmark a couple of talks that interest you. So, in this game, the goals for our conference are to make a connection with Professor W, the head of programming languages at Bristol, and to get a feel for PL research, particularly BX. You guys ready? Oh, so ready. Let's go. Day 1. Oh no, guys, our flight has been delayed. Instead of landing the night before the conference starts, we've landed at 6 a.m. on the day the conference starts. And I don't know about you, but I do not sleep on planes. We're exhausted. We've just managed to check into our hotel and could still make the keynote. What should we do, guys? Should we attend the keynote, take a nap, or down an espresso and head to the keynote? So we're going to have a little vote. Who wants to attend the keynote? 1 person, lovely. Who wants to take a nap? Oh, you sensible, boring people. What about downing the espresso? Oh, yeah, we're going to down the espresso. So, we downed 3 of Italy's famous espressos, because 3 is the correct number, and we hope it's going to give us life. We desperately try to pay attention to the keynote, but we cannot. The coffee's making our head spin, and ultimately, we collapse from exhaustion. Try again. So doing very well. So I'm hoping over the course of this talk, I can teach you how to do better. But in order to do better, we need to think about, what is good about attending a conference? What can we do well? In other words, Why do we go to conferences? And I wanted to do a little brainstorming. So if you know or think of a reason that we might go to a conference, put your hand up and shout it out. And then I'll type it. Yes. To share information. Lovely. Ooh. Anything else? Yeah. Meeting people with the... Oh, dear. I'm really bad at typing. We had another hand at the back. Oh, it was the same one. Oh, then that one must be really important. I'll put an exclamation mark and maybe fix my spelling of culture. Any other ideas?
Listen to talks.
Listen to talks. Just like now. Yeah. Gain. Oh, I love that one. New perspective. Anyone else? Maybe some of the adults in the room?
I was hoping to meet Professor W.
Oh, me too. He seems like quite the guy. Yeah, Harry?
Go somewhere fun.
Go have fun, yeah. Oh. I actually went to see the famous Last Supper yesterday. It was pretty cool. I got a free ticket, though. I wouldn't have paid £15 for it. Anyone else? Yeah, again. Visit a new city, of course. Has anyone been to Milan before? No, yeah. You've been to... Put faces to names. That's a really good one. Ooh, pit. Any other ideas? Maybe from the more experienced in our audience and they know some higher reasons. Near the back? Get to be known. Very good. The opposite of putting the names to the faces. I like it. Anyone else? Yeah?
Start a collaboration.
Yeah. That's how important this one is, Harry. We know. Any other reasons? Oh, they're getting real big now. They're really important. Any other reasons we might go to conferences?
Exposure to different subfields.
Yeah. Oh, exposure to... One thing that we've missed, I think, is make friends. I certainly made a lot of friends with my bingo card. Any other ideas before we move on? Any burning ideas? Yeah. Free, yes. Everyone go get yourself, that's a talk over. Go get the Jane Street shirt and then move on. Nice. I think that's a good one to leave it on. Let me just switch it back. Nice. That was really, really well done, guys. That was loads of really cool ideas. And obviously, that's all way too much for one person to do at one conference. So remember, we're only going to pick a couple of those things to do. So we've discussed what you guys think conferences are about, but what do I think? I'm the speaker. Of course, what I think matters. So I actually think conferences are all about the people. I mean, ultimately, it's a huge gathering of people to share ideas. So while you may gain a lot by being a passive participant, I highly encourage you to engage as much as possible. Because I honestly think the more you put in, the more you get out. Although at this point, I have to confess, at my first conference, I did none of that. I just sat quietly and I watched and I learned. And then the next time I engaged. So if you want to do that and you're that kind of person as well, you know, look how cute 2018 Sam was. She wasn't ready. But she learned, she watched. Next time, she was great. But yeah, ultimately, I think conferences are about making connections. In other words, networking. Now, networking is this big, scary word that intimidates people. But let's quickly bring back our brainstorming. How many of these things required social interaction? Have a think about it. I would say almost all of them, and things like have fun. I certainly can have a lot of fun on my own, but I have a lot more fun with other people. So either you need social interaction to achieve these things, or they're better with social interaction. So networking, it's really not that scary. We're just social animals, guys. Yeah. So if you don't interact with the other attendees, why even have you paid, or your sponsors paid, so much money for you to be here? We saw in COVID that it was a little sad without the social aspect of conferences. Like I said, you get what you put in, and I honestly wouldn't be where I am today without social interaction. It got me my PhD, it got me my most successful collaboration paper, It's gotten me loads of really fun trips abroad. I've been to Beijing, I've been to Japan. And honestly, it's got me on this stage today. I wouldn't be here if people didn't, interact with me and think, oh, we'll put her on a stage. So this talk is ultimately about learning how to network effectively. But of course, as we saw in Conference Cadet, you can't network effectively if you're passed out because you drank too much coffee and didn't sleep. And also, if your social batteries run out, you also can't network. So another thing we're going to cover is pacing yourself. But I can tell what you're all thinking. Sam, what about the research talks? Well, it's not about the talks. That's my hot take of today. It's not all about the research talks. Okay, I am sort of joking. When I say it's not all about the talks, I say that with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, because obviously the research talks are important. And to be clear in this little section, I'm just talking about the research talks that are going to be over the next 3 days, not the PLMW talks. Please attend all the PLMW talks. We've like made them for you, so this advice does not relate to that. Just talking about the research talks, because they are important, but not for the reason people think they are. So talks should be an advertisement, not a lecture. They should tell you just enough about the paper to encourage you to read it. So I use talks accordingly. I use them to decide whether or not I'm going to read the paper, whether or not I want to connect with the speaker. Honestly, if there's a super relevant paper, I have already looked at the schedule and I've already read the paper. I'm just sitting in that person's talk, so I have an excuse to talk to them. I also use talks to see what people are interested in, see what they're researching about. So do not worry if you don't understand the talks. It's really not about that. They're not lectures, and this means you don't need to take as detailed notes. In lectures, I literally wrote verbatim. You're not meant to understand all the details, and you're not meant to remember all the details. All the notes I take from talks is just whether or not I want to go chat to the speaker and why, just a little justification of the decision that I made earlier. Also remember, the talks are recorded. It's literally the only experience of the conference that you can relive. The one thing you can't relive is the networking. And yes, I'm back to the networking again. That's what I think it's all about. I honestly think becoming friends with the presenter or having them as a connection is far more important than going to the talk and listening to the talk. But you've got to go to the talk to chat to the speaker. You can't just be like, oh, I wasn't at your talk, but I want to talk to you. You can't do that. You've got to go to the talk and say, I loved your talk. But of course, before we can do the networking, we've got to look after ourselves. So I want to make this really clear. You're not wasting any opportunities by looking after yourself. You're actually making the most of them because you're ensuring you've got the energy you need for the things that matter. Look after yourselves. So you do not need to attend everything. And again, attend all the PLMW things. But you can skip a session to take a break if you need it. You can opt out of networking if you're quite, social batteries run out. You can sit quietly in the corner. You can just have a small dinner in your room one night. I got takeout yesterday because I was so tired from my flight. And all of these options appear in Conference Cadet, and we'll play again later, and they're there for a reason, and they're there because you need to pace yourself. Let's take little baby Sam as a case study. So first of all, I'm an introvert, and obviously, as an introvert, my main tip for you is hide in the toilet. And I am only sort of kidding, so my standard tactic for each break is number 1, go to the toilet, and have a nice little break, check in with how I'm feeling, and just switch off for a moment, and then I know where I'm at. After that, I go head over to the drinks and snacks, partly because I need that caffeine and I want those snacks, but partly because it gives me something to do while I look around the room and I say, oh, is that a friend I made earlier that I want to go chat to? Or, ooh, the person I really want to network with, Professor W, is available. Should I go do them? And then I grab my snacks, and it's only once I've looked after myself, by getting the snacks and going to the toilet, that I decide what I want to do. So at that point, I have to decide, ooh, do I want to go network? Or actually, after checking in with myself, do I know I'm quite tired and I'm just going to go sit to the side? So that's my little break tactic for you. And you'll see me doing it. If you see me going to the toilet, you know exactly what I'm doing. So another thing I found really successful in pacing yourself is rotating what you do. So if I spend all of lunch networking with people I don't know, the next break, I'm going to go find my friends and sit quietly because my social battery isn't that big. So I like to alternate what I do. I even go sit in talk sessions because I notice that my social batteries are really low. And I just sit in them even if I'm not interested in, because it just gives me a little break. You're also welcome to go back to your hotel and have a little nap. I personally don't do that because I like to have my hotel like a 5-minute walk away so I can have that separation between the conference and my hotel, but it's up to you. You can go have a nap if you need. Another thing you may not know about me as the case study is I actually have fatigue. Well, technically I have long COVID, but it boils down to the fact that I have fatigue. And this means I've got less energy than the average person, and pacing myself is more important than ever, because if I pace myself wrong, I basically become sick. But luckily for you, this means I'm really good at pacing myself. So don't be afraid to take a nap. You may not have fatigue, but you might be really jet lagged. And let's face it, for most of you, it's your first conference. You know, that can be really overwhelming and tiring, so nap it out. Also, don't feel like you have to do something every evening. Every evening, people will be going for dinner. You don't have to go every evening. You can have a night off, just watch some Netflix. So last ICFP, I watched an episode of Heartstopper every evening, and honestly, it was the best wholesome way to calm down after every day. It was great. And of course, my final tip is try all the desserts. So this is an option every lunchtime session in the conference cadet game, and it's my favorite thing to do. You know why? Desserts are delicious. Desserts have sugar, which I need a lot of. Also, rating the desserts, and I do this every conference, it's either a nice thing for me to do on my own and entertain myself, or it's a really simple social interaction. Now, don't get me wrong, I love PL, but I can't talk about PL all day long. Sometimes it's just easier to rant to someone about why coconut should not be in any dessert, ever. So that's how I pace myself, and I hope there's something useful there for you. Next thing about pacing yourself, and I think this goes without saying, if you prepare for something, it's going to run smoother and be more enjoyable. So here are some things that you can still do today, maybe this evening, to prepare for the rest of the conference. So I recommend you look at the schedule and mark the talks that interest you. So the conference website has a really lovely feature that you can star the things you're interested in and then download that to your calendar. I normally overstar things, so my calendar's got lots of conflicts, but it means at the end of the break, when I'm deciding what to do next, I can see, ooh, I was interested in this, or I was interested in this. Oh, but I'm chatting to these people, what do I want to do based on this information? Some tips on what to attend today. Attend all the PLMW talks, please. And in general, you can't go wrong with a keynote. They're normally more broad than the research talks. So for example, last year there was one really interesting keynote on PL for climate change, which I really enjoyed. Another thing I like to do is support your friends. It's really lovely to have a friendly face in the audience, so I always go to the talks of people from my institution or friends that I've made along the way. And of course, look for talks that sound interesting to you or relevant to your research or your research interests. The second thing I suggest you do this evening is make a to-do list. So conferences are a huge whirlwind event. So before I go, I make a list of the things I absolutely must do, and I write them down and I tick them off as I go, because then, I don't forget them. Phew, we've made it. It's time to learn about the networking, guys. First of all, I want to motivate why we want to network. Like I said earlier, it has gotten me to where I am now. I also think that networking makes things much, much easier. So the more people you know, the more friends you have. And for me, personally, that means the longer my social battery lasts, because new people are way more tiring than old people. Second thing is it gives you a support system. So you get to make friends and meet academics outside of your institution, and they can give you feedback on your talk, advice, and sometimes it's just nice to get advice from someone with a different perspective. So gaining a support system outside your institution is really valuable. Another thing is networking can lead to a bunch of things. So it can lead to travel opportunities. You're more likely to set up a visit to someone's institution if you've actually met them. And if you've actually met them, you're going to feel way more comfortable to go visit them. So for example, I made a bunch of friends at a summer school from Chalmers, here at the back. And then I went to go visit Chalmers, and it was really lovely because I already knew all the PhD students there, and I knew I'd be looked after, and I really was looked after. So thanks, guys. Another thing you might get from networking is a collaboration. So a collaboration is much more likely to be successful, and you're much more likely to know if it's going to be successful if you've met them in person. There's no substitute for meeting someone for assessing chemistry. So for example, Harry and I had a great collaboration, and we met at a conference. In fact, we also gave a talk about collaboration at PLMW from Popple this year, so check that out online. It's on my website. So hopefully from these examples, you can see that networking is actually a virtuous cycle. And you know, when do we ever get virtuous cycles that actually exist in life? Take advantage of it. We love virtuous cycles. So now you're super hyped about learning to network. I'm going to give you the first networking tip that was given to me. Take the hallway track. This is where instead of going to a talk session, you remain in the breakout area and you use that time to network. I think this is really worth pointing out because as an undergrad, you sort of automatically think, I must go to everything. In the same way you can take a break from a session to rest, you can also take a break to chat to people. And I often think it's easier to network in the hallway track because it's a little bit quieter. Okay, we can't talk about networking without talking about the general context that you guys are all going to be networking in this break, and that's these little talk circles. So in the breaks, everyone's going to be stood in these little circles, so I thought I'd talk about them. If you want to join them, please feel confident to join any circle. You're going to be really welcome. If people are having a serious research discussion, they're going to be off to the side and not in one of these circles. And then the 1% chance that you actually can't join the conversation, everyone's really lovely and they'll just politely tell you. So feel free to go stand in any circle. You can come and stand in any circle I am in. Please do. And I will make sure you're engaged as quickly as politely possible. In terms of the mechanics of how to actually join, here's what I do. I go stand there politely. I physically stand there. And then one of two things will happen. Either the current conversation will end, and then I'll introduce myself and say hi to everyone. Or maybe the current conversation hasn't quite ended, and I don't want them to stop on my account, so I'll wait until either it pauses, and then I'll introduce myself, or if I notice I can contribute to the conversation, I'll just start doing that. That's my tactic for joining the circles. If you're in one of the circles, be as welcoming as possible. You know what it's like on the outside of the circle. We can make it easier for everyone on the outside. And you can do this by physically making space for everyone that makes them feel welcome, inviting them to introduce themselves, or just introducing them to everyone that's already there. Speaking of introductions, sorry, Harry, this is literally the easiest way to meet people. If the idea of joining a circle is not fun for you, you can bypass it by finding an extrovert and getting them to take you into the circle and introduce them to your friends. Although extroverts may be rare in this case. But yes, I am more than happy to introduce you to anyone I know. Your faculty can introduce you to anyone. It is literally their job to help you network. So you can be like, please, can you introduce me to this person? Also, if you've made friends today, introduce them to your faculty, and they might return the favor. In other words, get your network networking for you. And hopefully these ideas can kickstart your network today, and you can start your virtuous cycle. I also came up with a bunch of prompts that you can use when chatting to people. So I've split them into technical and non-technical, and I honestly always prefer the non-technical unless I have a specific question for someone. This is because I came to realize this over the years of coming to conferences. Chatting to people isn't actually about impressing them with your, a grilling question on their talk. I actually think it's just being about being personable. I would much rather work with someone that I had a nice chat with than someone who grilled me on my talk. And honestly, for me at least, I'm normally too tired to get technical discussions in at conferences. I use conferences to schedule them, so I have the energy that, I want to dedicate to that talk properly. So here are my technical ones. What are you researching currently? What talks have you enjoyed so far? And for speakers, and again, this is Paulette's from last year's talk, and it's just for speakers, what's something you wish you touched on in your talk? Here are the non-technical ones. Have you been to Milan before? Do you have time around the conference to go sightseeing? Personally, I went to see The Last Supper. I hadn't been yet when I wrote the slides. What institution are you from? What's it like? What got you into PL research? Which dessert was your favorite? It's obviously the most important one. And of course, once you've chatted to someone, make sure you get their contact details so you can chat to them again. Speaking of getting contact details, one thing I think that's really forgotten about networking is it doesn't end when you leave the conference. I recommend each evening, just take a couple minutes to write down what happened in your day, who you met, and what you chatted to. You might think you're going to remember everything, but let me tell you, you're not going to remember everything. And you don't want to forget a conversation that might turn out to be important in a couple of years' time. Secondly, if you have exchanged emails with someone, make sure you follow up when you get home by just sending them little emails saying, "Hi, hope you got home safe. We chatted. Shall we start whatever we're going to chat about?" All right, guys, I've told you everything I know. It's time to play again. Hopefully, if we play the game, we can do better. So let's restart. And I just want you to put your hand up, and I'll point at you, and we'll shout it out. Otherwise, this will take forever. So we're ready again. Remember, we want to meet Professor W and get to know BX research. So, Harry, what are we going to do now? We're going to take a nap. Oh, that's so sensible of you. What a good idea. What time would you like to wake up for, Harry? Ooh.
Let's sleep till lunch.
I like sleeping till lunch because it means that lunch is kind of like your breakfast. So we sleep till lunch and we replenish 4 out of 9 of our energy. So we've got 4 energy, guys. It's lunch. How do we want to spend it? Do we want to make friends with our peers, network with academics, try all the desserts, or check in with how we're feeling? And if you just chuck your hand up and pick an option, and I'll select it, and we can kind of play as an audience. Yeah. Sorry? Let's check in how we're feeling. What a good idea. So we check in with ourselves and our energy levels. So we've got 4 out of 9 energy, and our social battery is 3 out of 3. So bear that in mind for the rest of the game. So the ICFP programming contest results will be during the last 30 minutes of lunch. Do we want to go? Nah. Well, that was what I heard, guys. I heard nah. So we continue enjoying our lunch. It's now the session on type theory. Do we want to go pay attention, take the hallway track, sit quietly somewhere, or go nap in our room? We've got 3 days of this. We've got to be quick fire. Yeah. Go socialize. Let's go take the hallway track. Love it. So we take the hallway track and we met 2 academics. Go us. It is now the afternoon break. Do we want to drink some coffee, network, try make some friends, go stretch our legs outside, or check with how we're feeling? What do we want, guys? Yes. So we've learned that we've lost 1 energy and one social battery since we last got there. So hopefully you're getting a feel for what things cost in the game. It's now the session on logical foundations. Do we pay attention, take the hallway track, sit quietly, or take a nap? Yes.
You pay attention.
Oh, good idea. We do at least need to go to some of the talks. It is now, so we go to the session, we go to the memorial, and we start to notice that we're getting really tired. So it's the ICFP reception. How do we want to spend the evening? Do we just go show our face and eat some food because we're pretty tired? Do we just relax with our friends and people from our institution? Or, do we go network? Or, I'm excited about this option. Our friend is offering us their drinks tokens. Could we have a fun night? Drinks! Oh, good idea. So we have a wonderful evening. With our confidence buoyed by the Italian wine, we make 7 friends. Hopefully we won't have a headache in the morning. You were very lucky on that one. Sometimes that doesn't happen. All right, on to day 2, guys. So our head still hurts a little from the night before, and we might have a little less energy today. What do we want to do? Do we want to go to the keynote or sleep in? Go to the keynote. Who cares if we're hungover? We're going to the keynote. We enjoy the keynote. It is now the morning break. Do we drink some coffee, network, try make some friends, go outside, or we see one of our friends that we've already made? Should we get them to introduce us to someone else, or should we check how we're feeling? Chat to our friends? Wait, what to do with friends? This one, this. Let's get them to introduce us to other people. Oh, they introduce us to the people we're with. We meet 2 academics and make 2 new friends. It is now the next session. But while we're deciding what to do, we notice that Professor W is available in the hallway. This would be a really good chance to network with him. But suddenly, a student volunteer rushes up to us looking stressed. She hurriedly explains that she's part of the AV team and they could really use an extra pair of hands this session. What do? Do we take our golden opportunity to network, or do we help the student volunteer? So, are we gonna just go network, help the volunteer, or are we just gonna go to the talk because we really want to go to the talk? Or is it all too much and we need to sit quietly or have a nap? Yeah.
Probably help them volunteer or something.
That's nice, that's really nice of you. So we helped the volunteer from the AV team. And whoa, it turns out that she's Professor W's student. And because you helped her out, she's going to introduce you to him at lunch. You spend lunch with them both, making an excellent impression on Professor W. This is the best you could have hoped for. Nice decision over there. Always help people. So the student research competition is during the last 30 minutes of lunch. Shall we go? I see some nods. Of course we're going. That sounds like a lot of fun. We attend it and get inspired. It's now the next session. What do we want to do? Pay attention, hallway track, nap, or sit quietly? Sit quietly. It has been a bit of a whirlwind day. We take a nice little break. It is now the afternoon break. Do we want coffee, chat to our friends, go network, try and make some more friends, go for some fresh air, use the friends we already made to network more, or check in with how we're feeling? There's a lot of options. Yeah. That's a good idea. We are hungover. So we got 4 out of 9 energy and 3 out of 3 social battery. Yeah, we can go party again. So it's the next session. Shall we go? Hallway track, sit quietly, or have a nap? Huh? Yeah, let's go. We need to go to some things. It turns out that this session has 2 talks related to bidirectional programming, and one of which is from one of Professor W's students. Amazing. You love every minute of it. It is now the business meeting. Shall we go? Should we call it a day, or should we get some networking in?
Always go to the business meeting.
Oh, you heard it here first, guys. Always go to the business meeting. So we attend the business meeting, and we find out where next ICFP is. It's somewhere amazing. It is now dinner time. Shall we go socialize? Because socializing in the evening is the best way to make lasting connections. Or should we have fun this evening with some of our friends? Or should we have a chill evening by ourselves?
We need to get our energy levels up.
What was that?
We need to get our energy levels up so we can sleep.
We should sleep in. Let's do it. So we have a nice chill evening by ourselves. On to day 3. So the keynote again. Shall we sleep in past the keynote, or should we go to it? Go to the keynote, yes. Of course we're going to the keynote. It is now the morning break. Hopefully you know the options by now. Which ones should we do? Come on, guys. Yeah, let's make some new friends. I love friends. So we introduce ourselves to some, you guys found me on the first run. So we introduce ourselves to some fellow students. One of the students we made, Sam, mentioned she isn't particularly interested in the next session. And her and a few friends are gonna go see a pretty arch nearby. Do you wanna go with Sam? Of course we do, I'm the speaker. Of course we wanna go with Sam. You go with Sam and her friends, and it's a lot of fun. As you walk and chat with Sam, you learn that her supervisor is Professor W. And she's gonna make sure that you definitely make a good impression of him, on him. So she does just that. It's now lunch. So there's a DEI lunch specifically for your underrepresented minority. Do you wanna go? Yeah, of course you do. It's gonna be great. So you go to the lunch, and it's so rewarding and inspiring to meet all the lovely people there. And it makes you feel really at home in this community. You meet 5 academics and make 4 friends. This is going to be a really high-scoring run, guys. So it's the next session. What do we want to do?
Hallway track.
Hallway track. Yeah, we haven't done that in a while. We meet 2 academics. Go us. It is now the afternoon break. What do we want to do now? Come on, someone. Coffee! Good idea. We are in Italy. We drink some coffee, energizing ourselves. It is now time for the next session. What do you guys want to do? Pay attention. Yeah, we do need to go to some talks. It is now dinner time. What do we want to do? Network, have some fun with friends, or relax. Network. Good idea. It is the last day after all. So we spend the evening networking over dinner, and we meet 4 academics. Do you want to see how we did? Congratulations, you made it to the end, and that is an achievement in itself. In terms of the conference goals, we really achieved them. So we met Professor W, we exchanged contact details, and we impressed him because we helped his student who was doing the volunteering. We also attended the session with the 2 BX talks. And you're laughing because we tried 0 dessert. Don't worry, I'm sure there were desserts at the DEI lunch. So we attended 6 sessions, met 15 academics, 15 friends, 6 fun memories. We got 3 ideas from the conference, but we didn't try any of the desserts. Personally, I'm gutted, but overall, you did really well. So you got a score of 75. Please, I'm going to release this at the end, and you can share how you did. My current high score is 84. We'll just switch back to the talk and wrap up. Whew, that was a whirlwind tour, but I hope that you now feel more prepared for the conference, comfortable and confident. And I also hope that you're going to pace yourself so you can indeed be comfortable. I also hope that you feel equipped to create and execute your conference plan. So again, I've just told you loads of things that can be achieved at a conference and how to achieve them. But don't do them all. Just pick a couple of things you want to do. So maybe you want to make a friend, introduce them to your faculty, and they can do a return, and you want to have fun just because it's your first conference. And because it is your first conference, it's really nice being at your first conference because you don't really have any responsibility. It's unlikely you're giving a talk or people know you, so you can just sort of sit back and enjoy it. So please do enjoy it. And then each time you come back to conferences, and please come back, I hope you love it and you want to come back, you can grow each time, setting more and more ambitious goals. And like I said, these slides are on my website, and you can look back at them to help decide your goals for next time, if you do come back. Now, go make the most out of ICFP. Thank you. If you have any questions, and we'll actually get a mic to people now.
Yeah, questions for Sam. I think we can probably all hear you in the room, but for the benefit of the recording and stream, it would be great if you could either come up to this mic, or I can, if you're too far away, run over and hand you this mic. Come on, there have to be some questions.
I was just very comprehensive.
It's true. I love the game.
Please play it. Please scan the QR code. Like I said, my high score is 84, and if you tweet, I'll see if you beat me. Let's scan the QR code.
It's always, someone should ask a question. So what are you doing in the coffee break?
Oh, well, so it's slightly different when you're a speaker. I'm actually going to linger here in case people are too nervous to ask questions outright. But then I'm going to go to the toilet, walk over to the snack table, get myself some snacks and tea, and then I'll decide what to do.
Yeah, so I think Wouter touched a bit on this in your answer. So if you're giving your first talk, you should linger after the talk. Yep. Could you give any advice on that?
So I actually I have a hidden slide. I don't know if I can get to it. No, not that one. Ooh. No. I thought I was going to be one of those people that had the slide ready. But so I do have a few tips if you are giving your first talk. Make sure you wear something distinctive. Ooh. You think you're going to recognize people from their face, but really I just remember that the person I want to speak to is wearing a red top. So try wear something distinctive. Lurk after your talk, because there'll be loads of people in the audience that are too shy to go on the mic, and then you can chat to them there. I just make sure I'm very available after my talk. So I gave a talk last year at ICFP, and I wore a green top, and then the next day I also wore a green top, just to make sure that people could find me.
What sport do you play?
Yeah, so I went around telling you all I was an athlete and I represented my country. My sport is actually Quidditch, or now called quad ball. But I was captain of Team Scotland, so I'm definitely an athlete.
So I know I felt like my first conference didn't go so well, and I was very nervous about it. And then sort of over time, I got more into it. How many conferences did you feel like it took you to feel like you were like comfortable in an area?
So my first one, I was super nervous, and like I said, I didn't really do much. I made friends with my roommate, and we literally went to things together and stuck as a pair, and I really found that really helpful. My second one, I was actually really sick, and I was giving a student research talk, and I was really nervous, so I did not feel like I was there. So maybe, and then it was COVID. So that was a couple years of weird. But when we came back, I think ultimately I was really excited. So let's not count the COVID ones. Let's go the third one. Oh, there's one over there.
Simon,
Oh.
Yeah, this is more of a comment than a question. Thanks, Samantha. It was that I think it was very interesting just when you said, has anybody questioned? This is quite a long silence. I think it's really good to be the person who asks a question, but that needs a bit of preparation and it needs a bit of courage. So, and it's not just to get yourself noticed. It also, if I'm listening to a talk and think I might ask a question after this talk, it makes me listen with a sort of intense focus that I'm not going to be reading my email. But another thing is, if it's a not so senior person giving a talk who hasn't given a talk before, it can be that pause, right? You were fine, right? But that pause is a difficult one for them. It's a very generous thing to do to be the person who asks you a question. And the other thing is that if you get in the habit of doing it, people get to know, he's the guy who asks all the questions. And then it gives you a place to start afterwards in a conversation. So there's lots of advantages, but I think it takes a little bit of work, a little bit of preparation. You might have to script yourself. Think of it during the talk. Don't wait until Stefan says, has anybody got a question? While the talk is happening, think, what am I going to ask? And then you may not have time and it may be fine, but that's actually worth a bit of preparation, I think.
Did you also notice how there were loads of questions after the first person broke the ice? So that's another reason it's really useful.
Exactly. This was a trick I learned in teaching training the first time I was a teaching assistant in grad school. If you wait, count to 10 before you move on after you ask if there are any questions. 10 seconds is a really long time for people to sit in silence without asking a question. Somebody will do it just to break the ice. So thank you. Yeah.
There was one over there, I think. Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for talking about your own research?
This is something I've not mastered. So I've mastered giving the layman's description to like all my friends and family who are like, what do you do? But here everyone already sort of knows. Ask me after the break and I might have but like I said, I just tried to be personable and happy. So I suppose I bypassed it. And then by the time I got to giving a talk, they were like, oh, it's that nice girl. Oh, wow, she's done a talk. That's cool. And then people asked me about that. So that's just what I did.
What's your brain thought when you're running late? Train thought, sorry.
My train of thought when I'm running late, I'm a type A person, I'm never running late. I think I'm running late if I'm not half an hour early. So I suppose I do get stressed and I think, I should walk faster, but then I'm like, it's Italy, I'm just going to be really sweaty if I walk faster. So probably a normal person's train of thought, but I'm not normally late.
As someone who is habitually late, I can also give my answer to that question. So, if I'm the speaker, I make sure I am not late. If I'm not the speaker or the session chair, I might be 5 minutes late getting to the conference center in the morning. Walking into the keynote 5 minutes late, be quiet, stand in the back, don't disturb anybody. But people will do that. I do that all the time. Or if you get there and you see, the too many people already standing in the back. I'm not going to be able to get in without making a commotion. Take the hallway track during the keynote.
Thank you so much for your talk. It's very inspiring. You mentioned something about COVID, and I wanted to know, like, how did that affect your research or something like that?
Quite a lot. So I started my PhD in March 2020.
Yeah.
So I then proceeded to have not a normal week. I was in for my first week, and then we were sent home, and then I was fine for like a couple months. But you know, it's really hard to, like, you literally spend the first year of your PhD like getting lost and just reading things and not knowing where to start, and then this magical thing happens, and then suddenly you know what you're doing. So I had to do that in lockdown, and then I got sick for like 4 months. So quite impactful. But I've learned a lot of ways of dealing with it. I found that being really open about it really helps, because then you find people may not also have fatigue, but they may have something else. And if you're realistic about what you can achieve, it's a much better working experience. So my supervisor's been absolutely amazing, and I just say to him, I'm dying. He's like, no, please just go rest. He knows that if I rest, I'll be back and I'll be good. So just being open about it is really helpful.
Great. I think we have time for maybe one more question.
Hello. Do you have any advice on how to balance networking and meeting new people versus following up and developing more deep relationships?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It will depend on your goal of the conference. So if you haven't secured your studentship, I wouldn't put your eggs in all one basket, but you might want to have, say, 3 deep connections with an academic that you might want to ask to be your supervisor. So you can establish if they're going to be good for you and they remember you. If you don't have a goal like that, maybe just meeting lots of people. So personally, I'm not really a lots of people kind of person. I made good friends with my roommate at PLMW, and we did everything together, and I introduced her to my faculty, and that was about it. So it depends on a lot of things. Your goals, the type of person you are. You want to mix what you want to achieve with what you're comfortable with. And that's sort of the essence of the whole talk, I suppose. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to take away from the break and your first opportunity to put all of this into practice. But like Sam said, if you have more questions for her that you didn't get to ask, she'll be sticking around. We'll be setting up for the panel up here, but don't mind us. Otherwise, go out and get coffee, unless you're one of the people who checked off that you don't like coffee. I don't understand you people.
And scan the QR code for later.
Yes. And we'll see you back here at, I believe, 11 is the next session. Yes.